You can take their seats. We're going to get started. Tried to hold out for a couple of minutes, but I don't think a whole lot more showed up. All right, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming out tonight. I know the weather's not optimum. It's, about 7:09, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. To start off tonight, we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the national anthem played by the Newmarket Junior Senior High School Band. So if everybody would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Zwicky and the band. We're gonna hold for just a couple of minutes while the band gets their things and heads out.
We gotta squeeze back down Brian just showed.
Roads out back from the village to get over? All right, let's get started again. Thanks again for coming out. As a courtesy to those people around you, will you please take note to turn your cell phones off or pagers off, or set them to silent mode. Also, I just want to remind everybody about the exits we have in the room. There's two exits, one to my left and one to my right. Restrooms are also in the corridors outside the doors there. My name is Bob Madej, and I'm your school district moderator. My primary responsibilities are to moderate this meeting and any special meetings that might be called by the school board. Also to oversee the school district voting that's going to come up on March 10th, where we're going to officially have the second session of SB2, where we will vote on these warrant articles. I want to say just a couple words about the process, SB2. I'm not quite sure if everybody is that comfortable with SB2. even though we've had it for a few years. I think a bunch of us are still learning. The school district already had a public session on these warrants. That was back in January. That was the first time these warrants were publicly expressed, and at that time, the public was welcome to attend and ask questions on the warrant articles and get an in-depth discussion on them. I think at that time also the Budget Committee, right after that, the Budget Committee made their votes on each warrant article. This meeting is called the first session of SB2. It is the deliberative session. The second session, as I mentioned earlier, is when we vote on the warrant articles, and we would actually then appropriate funds on the warrant articles. Again, that date is going to be Tuesday, March 10th. It's voting is going to be here at the town hall, and polls are open from 7 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. In this meeting, you're going to hear the warrant articles and be given the opportunity to ask any questions on the warrants. If so desired, this meeting may amend the warrant articles through a process of motions, seconds, discussions, and approvals. I want to also emphasize that this meeting is a voting meeting. You are a voting body as you attend out there. So you do have the rights to revise these warrants. I just wanted to make it clear that this deliberative session is a very important session with respect to these warrants. You can take actions, and please remember your legal obligation, though, to educate the children of the school district. I'm sure those who are not here tonight would like to know that you all have made important and informed, intelligent decisions tonight about these warrant articles. I have to try to revise my notes a little bit as we go along. It's intended for a much larger crowd and more warrant articles that may stir more interest, so I'll try to get through this. Okay, we already talked about voting on the warrant articles. At the end of this meeting, the warrant articles, as amended by this voting body, will be presented on the ballot for the second session. So basically, in summary, I just wanted everybody to know that attendance at this meeting is important because it sets the standard for the ballot that's going to be put to the public in the second session. With the SB2, with the format of SB2, it turns out that if you are in support of a warrant article, you really need to come out twice. You need to come to this deliberative session in order to reinforce that warrant article, and you also need to then vote for those appropriations in the second session. And conversely, if you're opposed to any warrant article, you really only need to come out once. You really only need to come out to this session, because at this session, if it gets amended in a way that you're satisfied, then that's what appears on the ballot for the second session. So that's why this session is so important, because it is what's going to be presented to the public when we're done tonight. I want to emphasize that this is not a school board meeting, and this is not a budget committee meeting. Now, both boards are here tonight to help answer questions and all, but it's not their meeting. It's your meeting. You folks who are out there tonight, this is a public meeting of the residents of Newmarket, and it's your meeting, and you guys will decide what's going to end up on the final warrant. Everyone here has their own individual rights and responsibilities. During this meeting, everybody should be courteous to each other and the speakers and those around them. Please remain attentive during this meeting. If you do have to leave, please do so quietly, and try to do it when nobody's talking. We do have a public microphone up here for public comment, and we do ask that you come up to the microphone to add comments so that it can be recorded, and you will be on TV. Also available was the warrants as published. I think they're on the table there if you didn't get a copy. Next to them is a copy of the moderator's rules on how we're going to conduct business tonight. Just a few of the rules that I wanted to point out. When asking a question, please present your full name and come up to the microphone. Address all remarks or questions to myself, the moderator. Non-registered voters must be seated in the area so designated in the back. And if you're a non-registered voter, would you please move there at this time? But I think it's already set that way. Thanks. It's my responsibility to preside over this meeting and regulate its business tonight. Decide on questions of order and make a public declaration of any vote that we do take tonight. I normally at this time say I don't tolerate distractive behavior, but I don't think we're going to get there tonight. And also, for those in the audience, if you find anything distracting, just let me know. But again, we've got a small crowd. So I guess before we get started, does anybody have any questions on the format? Okay, seeing none. I'm a little leery about the weather tonight. I know it's not optimum out there, and we don't have a large turnout tonight. So I'm just going to throw this out there. We've opened the meeting, we've started the meeting. We do have an opportunity to adjourn this meeting to tomorrow night, and that would have to be a decision made by the public in the audience out there tonight. So we would have to do that with a motion and a vote. So I'll just open it up at this time for anybody who wants to make a motion to adjourn to tomorrow night, if they do feel so. And everybody's raring to go, so there's no motion tonight. So, all right, so we're going to go get this over with. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Cliff Chase of the school board. And Cliff, do you also want to read your mission statement at this time?
I do, thank you.
Okay, so Cliff Chase, the chairperson of the school board, is going to read the mission statement of the school board and introduce the rest of the school board members.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And as you said, this is neither a school board meeting or a budget committee meeting. I think it's appropriate, given the subject of the evening, to kind of state a tone with the mission that we work towards in the school district. The Newmarket School District is committed to the highest standards of quality education by creating a safe and successful learning community that embraces diversity and responds to the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical needs of every child. We are dedicated to fostering links to the broader community to ensure that students develop lifelong skills, enabling them to be contributing and productive members of society. Thanks. And to my right is the Vice Chair, Forrest Ransdell. Beside him is Jill Berry, Chet Jablonski, Linda Monagani, that's our school board. Next to Linda is Mark LaRoche, our new superintendent. This is his first of many deliberative sessions here in his tenure in Newmarket. We're happy to have him. Next to him is our legal representation, Peter Bronstein. And next to him is Sue Caswell, our business administrator. And off in the corner, Penny Botterman is taking minutes this evening.
All right. Thanks, Cliff. And also here is the Budget Committee. The chairperson of the Budget Committee is Lori Ann Caprioli, and she's going to introduce her committee.
Thank you. To my left is Vice Chairman Brian Hart, Eric Botterman, Leo Fillion, Larry Pickering, Al Zink, Bob Bastiani, John Diesel, and Michael LaBranch.
Thanks, Lori Ann. Okay, on the agenda tonight, we have a short list of 4 warrant articles. In general, I'll just summarize real quick. The first warrant requests funding for a roof repair. The second and third warrants are to discuss approval of distribution of surplus funds. And the fourth warrant article is the school budget. What I'd like to do is combine warrant articles number 2 and 3 together in our conversations. They are pretty much related, and they have similar subject matter. So unless I hear a motion from the floor or disagreement on that, I'm going to continue that way. Anybody? Yes, they are for separate purposes, but we're gonna discuss them both at the same time. Thank you. At the beginning of the warrant is a lot of information, which most of which I've already gone over, that talks about the first session and the second session. The dates are provided there for the second session, March 10th. I'm not going to go over that again. That's for you to take a look at. So we'll jump right into warrant article number 1. Warrant article number 1 is to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $192,100 to replace 2 sections of the roof at the junior-senior high school. To present this tonight is Chet Jablonski of the school board. And Chet, do you want to come up here or you want to talk from there? Okay.
Mr. Bitt, I read the article, so I'm not going to reread it. But this roof replacement article is the second year of a 5-year plan to address the replacement of all 13 sections of the Newmarket Junior-Senior High School. In the past, repairs have been taken out of the operating budget. So we're presenting this warrant article of $192,100.
So at this time, we're going to have, we can have discussion on this warrant article. If anybody wants to ask any questions, bring up any concerns, make any amendments. If there are no amendments made to the article, it will be presented onto the ballot as read. And so, not seeing any motions or questions, I'm going to proceed on to warrant article number 2 and 3. I'll read them both, and then we'll go into discussion on them. The warrant article number 2 is to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate $10,000 of any June 30th, 2009 fund balance or surplus to be added to the capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1-B. for the purpose of educating disabled children. And then warrant article number 3 is to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate $10,000 of any June 30th, 2009 fund balance or surplus to be added to the expendable trust fund under the provision of RSA 198:20-C for the purpose of repairs and maintenance of school facilities. So both of these warrant articles were recommended by both the school board and the budget committee. And Jill Barry is going to give us a little discussion on them.
Sure. I'd just like to give some background information. First on Article 2, as far as the Special Education Reserve Fund, it was established in 2004 to set aside funds for unanticipated special education needs. The current balance of this fund is $165,000 with a cap set at $250,000. And I believe if there was an unanticipated special needs student that did come into the district, that the cost is an obligation, and it usually runs between, I mean, I'd say probably an average between $100,000 and $150,000. And I can go into Article 2, but I just wanted to pause and make sure that there weren't any questions.
I'm not seeing any, Jill.
Okay. Article 3, this fund was also established in 2004 to set aside funds for unanticipated maintenance needs. The current balance of this fund is $65,000 with a cap of $250,000 also. I have a little bit of a an explanation. The school board took a different approach this year. We've all seen the reserve, obviously, the reserve account since 2004, but they specified dollar amounts this year to be added, or we specified the dollar amounts to be added each fund, as opposed to specifying a percentage of the surplus. This will help ensure that the funds appropriated to the elevator through last year's warrant article will be returned to the residents. The school board had a great deal of discussion regarding the elevator funds and felt strongly, since the elevator would not be built, that the funds should be returned to the voters. The funds for the elevator will become part of the surplus funds because it was not used. The school board did not want the appropriations through the warrant articles to affect the total amount of the elevator appropriation to be returned. So any surplus funds are used to offset the taxes for the next year. So we've just put a dollar amount rather than a percentage so that the elevator funds will be not touched and they will be returned as a whole to the taxpayers.
So does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, amendments to warrant articles number 2 and 3? Okay, seeing or hearing, yeah, Brian?
I'm just wondering, it's much more satisfying to pass a motion that to have them presented as they are. So can we do that for each of them versus just hearing them? And I mean, I know that we do that at the town deliberative session. So it's clear that the group said, yeah, it's going to be presented the way it is. I know it's kind of, that's the way it is if you don't change it, but I don't know. It would make it feel better. Like we're doing something more than educating just the few people.
Do you mean you want to stay here a little bit longer tonight? Is that what
I
it is?
can make
Because
one
we're
motion for the
75% of the
first
way
read.
through, and we've only been doing this for 25 minutes, so 20
We've only
minutes.
been doing this part of it for about 5. That's correct. I don't know. I mean, if legal counsel says we don't actually have to make a motion to present as they are, then let's keep going, I guess. But it just,
Thanks, Brian. I'll consider that for next year, but as far as I know, we don't have to we don't have to put them on the floor. It's just presented. We can discuss it. It's up to the voting body to decide if they want to amend it. If we do amend it, then that's a different story, and I would go through and ask for a vote, and we would do that with a second and all. But if there's no questions or no amendments made, the warrants as presented at this meeting just carry forward and go on to the ballot. Again, that's all part of SB 2 that I kind of wish everybody would understand. And in my opinion, in putting a motion to put it on the floor and then voting on it to bring it on, is more time at this meeting that's not necessary. And if everybody understands the way SB 2 works, we should get in gear and just get on with business and start moving along. So, seeing no comments or concerns on warrant articles number 2 and 3, I'll once again ask, and there is none. We're going to move on to warrant article number 4. Warrant article number 4, to see if the school district will raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, that's tonight, for the purpose set forth therein, totaling $14,270,987. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $14,270,987, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous actions of the Newmarket School District or by law, or the school board may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:1310 and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Note, this warrant article or the operating budget does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. And to help everybody try to understand a little bit more, Forrest Ransdell is going to give a little background.
Thank you very much. For those present and certainly for those at home as well that are watching, when we talk about the general budget, this has certainly been a very interesting year in that, we are looking at an economic situation that we impacted our decision-making very heavily. And we worked very hard along with the budget committees with some very thoughtful suggestions to come up with a budget that had little or no impact on the tax rate. And that was very important to, I believe all 5 of us right from the beginning. And so in this particular situation, the budget as presented does have an increase over last year's budget. However, due to increased adequacy aid from the state of New Hampshire, which we have been informed we can anticipate for next year, while there is a small increase in the budget, it represents a 1 penny reduction in the tax rate, this particular budget that's being presented to you this evening. I'm going to take a bit of a liberty here and comment on one of the other warrant articles, and that is just that the roof in Article number 1, oftentimes when budgets are tight, one of the first things that boards are forced to consider in order to take care of kids is, deferring some of those maintenance items that can be very important. But in this case, we felt that it was important to give the voters an opportunity and the taxpayers an opportunity to speak to the needs of the town and the children, and to, if we wish to go forward with that, we wanted to do so with explicit voter blessing. So our budget as presented, again, represents a flat tax rate, a very slight decrease. However, of course, if the first warrant is passed, there will be an increase associated with that. So just in all honesty, put all the cards on the table, that's where we're at. Thank you.
Okay, we're at warrant article number 4. Any comments, questions, concerns, amendments? Anything? Anybody? Sure, come on up.
Lois Kent, 203 South Main Street. It's kind of disappointing to see that the proposed budget is equal to the default budget. We don't seem to have much of a choice. I'm wondering if you considered reducing personnel this year.
We did in fact reduce personnel to reach this particular budget. So personnel were reduced to reach this particular budget. And an explanation of the default budget, just for your information, is when you take last year's budget, you have to add to it those kinds of things which were previously approved by the voters of Newmarket. For example, the teacher contract was approved 2 years ago, I believe, and we're in the 3rd year of that teacher contract. So the majority of that dollar increase represents things that the voters have already approved. So in order to reach the default budget, we did in fact reduce staff.
For us to reach the default budget, or to reach?
To reach our
the
budget, which is the default budget, yes.
Yeah, to reach the budget as presented. Yes, Mark.
In terms of decisions that were made throughout this budget process, there were reductions from initial requests submitted by cost center managers in excess of $400,000. So there were some painful choices that were made in order to achieve the objective that Forrest had outlined, speaking for the board, in trying to maintain percentage-wise, in terms of a tax impact, a flat budget. So there was a lot in the way of deliberations and, frankly, some pain. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So just to reiterate, Mark, once again, you had said that from the requested budget from your school departments,
Yes.
the school board came to a budget reduction of around $400,000?
$434,052.
Yep.
Okay. I could wait here for a couple more hours, because this is really going to be the end of the meeting pretty soon. So, hearing no more comments, questions, concerns, or amendments, we're going to move on and be done with warrant article number 4. We do have another warrant article, which is to transact any other business that we may need to perform tonight. And I have nothing on my agenda for any further business meeting to conduct tonight. Anybody have anything? Anybody in the public have anything? So, I see that we have no other business to conduct tonight. So right now, it's, what? Is that 7:45? Is that right?
7:39.
7:39? So I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Brian Hart made a motion to adjourn, and we have a second from Nicole Benson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.